Hi everyone, it's Alyssa from the Township Library and I am here with this month's crafts. Get ready, we are diving into a whole new world, a whole new hobby, at least for me. This is totally new to me. I don't know if anybody who is doing this month with me has done this before, but we are doing some DIY loom weaving. We are starting off much smaller. To be specific, we are starting off with a coaster. We're going with a rug-inspired coaster because, of course, when I think of loom weaving, I think of these beautiful rugs. And so the project that I found, it just kind of takes inspiration from a rug with the little tassels on the end, and it's actually a coaster for your drinks, so you can make a whole matching set if you would like. You will see if you got our kit on our instruction sheet. I have a QR code down here to the website where I learned how to do this DIY on a cardboard loom weaving project. This is from the blog called A Pretty Fix. So I'm not going to take credit for this, but I did want to show you a video of how to do it so that if you are a more visual learner, you like to see the videos, it's here for you. And just because I was so excited by it, so thank you to A Pretty Fix for this project. So what you have, what you need to get started is some yarn, and you need a tapestry needle, these nice thick blunt plastic needles with a large eye over here, and you need scissors, and you need this cardboard. And then what I've done, which you don't have on your cardboard yet, I've just given you the plain cardboard, is what you're going to do is you're going to take a ruler and we're going to measure about, and remember, just as wide as you want this to be. It doesn't need to be the whole size of the cardboard. It can be narrow, it could be longer, shorter, whatever you would like in terms of, think of this as the size of a coaster. These are little rugs that are actually coasters. So cute. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do 1/2 centimeter, and then you're just going to make a little notch. So I'm just cutting every 1/2 centimeter up here, and these little notches, this is where we put our yarn into. We're going to wrap it around, and your yarn will sit in here, and these little notches will hold your yarn steady so that then once you have your vertical lines, which is called the warp, we can go in with our horizontal lines to make our pattern. So we are going to get started with that, and this is what we'll end up with. So just make sure that you have your yarn, your needle, and your loom with your notches cut into it, and we're going to be ready to go. All right, let's see how this gets done. Okay, so we're going to start here with our loom. I've kind of just traced out like a general size that I would want my coaster, just for my own sake, so you can kind of pick whatever size you want. You'll see it'll kind of help us track where we're going. And so I have my yarn in my hand, and I'm going to start at this top slit over here in the corner and leave, about 2.5 inches, and just press that into the slit. And so I'm just going to go these vertical strands that you have when you're weaving on a loom, this is called the warp. And so the whole system of weaving is that you have the vertical and the horizontal strands, and so you have your warp, which is the foundation. And so I'm going to go ahead and now do my next one. Don't do it so tight. Don't pull. You want it to be pretty loose. You can hold up here at the top if you feel like it's going to go somewhere, but it's really not. It's pretty sturdy here. So don't pull so tight because your cardboard will bend and you're not going to really be able to have it be stable. Right, so I got it in the bottom, and I'm going to go back up to the top and do it again. And again, I'm just keeping it nice and loose. I want there to be a little give. I don't want there to be tension on the cardboard. It will bend it. It will ruin the whole process. And sometimes what helps with that is just making sure that you have unwound some of your yarn so you're not pulling on the yarn so tight, because then that'll make you kind of instinctively pull tight over on your warp strings as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just keep going all the way. Okay, so as you can see, Licorice has joined me because I have yarn, so why would she why would she not want to join me? Yes. Finished doing all of this, so as you can see, you have a front and a back, so actually you could make 2 patterns using just the one. So I'm only going to show you one today. Okay, I have to get my scissors, okay? Okay, so same thing, you're gonna cut and you're gonna make sure that you leave a tail that's, 2 or so inches long. What do you think, Licorice? Okay? And the next thing that we're going to do is we need to get a ruler that's going to help us make the base and get started with our contrasting yarn. Okay. After you remove the cat from your loom, what you're going to do is you're going to take a ruler, or even like another, if you have like another thin ruler sized and shaped piece of cardboard. What we're going to do is we're going to weave this in and out to just give us a base for our shape. I'm lining it up with the line that I made for my coaster, and this just gives you a little bit of stability and kind of helps you line things up so you know where you want to go and where you don't want to go. So I've given everybody some plastic large-eyed needles that you can thread your yarn through. So I'm just going to go ahead and thread my yarn through this. Okay, so to start here, I'm going to take my threaded needle and we're going over, under, same. So I'm just going to bring this down to my line so I have an even base. And I'm just going to keep pulling through. So at this point, this part is kind of hard. You kind of have to estimate how much yarn you think you're gonna use. I don't really know. This part I'm not good at. So I'm just gonna kind of keep pulling it through until I feel like I've got a good amount of yarn. I'm gonna cut this end where we started now as well, and again make sure you leave a little tail. Okay. So now back to our needle where we are. So see here, I ended this row underneath. I'm going to start this next row over top. Same thing as when we were making our warp though, we want to make sure that we're not pulling too tight. So I encourage you to just go very loosely. If you got the kit, you'll see there are instructions that I gave you from a website where I learned, and the author of that website kind of encourages you to make like a little arc. And that just kind of encourages having some extra yarn so that you're not bowing and you're going to accidentally get an hourglass shape by going too top. So just remember to kind of work loosely, and if you need to work yourself in a little extra yarn by creating an arc, you can do that. And then just like what I did here at the end of the row, you just bring it down using the tip of your needle, your fingertips. I think the author of that website was using a fork. So again, I ended underneath. I'm going to start over top. Okay, so you can see that was my second row. I pulled just a little bit tighter once I was done, so I knew that I could get rid of, you saw it kind of, there was excess at the end here, so I pulled it just a little bit tighter because I knew that I was done, I knew that I had enough, and that I was not too tight in here. So, again, I ended this side over, so I'm gonna go under. Okay, so one more time, I've got my little arc up here. I'm gonna go ahead and push everything down, and then I'll tighten it up, and then I'll push down again if I have to. And we're just going to keep repeating until we have a coaster. Okay, so we can say I'm about halfway, right? So let's say I do want to change my yarn color because you have, yours is pretty, mine is green and pink for contrast, just to be able to show you. So let's say I do want to change my yarn color. I'm gonna go ahead and snip again, make sure you're leaving a tail. We're gonna weave these all in at the end with our needle. Okay. To grab my needle and switch back to my green yarn, if I can find the end of it, there it is, and do the same thing. So the last row that I had finished under, so I'm going to go ahead and go over and work my way through. Okay, so I'm gonna call mine done. My lovely pink and green contrasting colors. So you can see that on this edge a little bit, on the edges where I switched to the green yarn, which is thinner, I kind of messed up my tension a little bit, and it does hourglass in a little bit. But since the yarn that I gave you is the same weight or thickness the whole way up, hopefully you don't have a weird transition like that. Anyway, what you can do when you have reached completion is you can, like I said before, flip it over and do the back. You don't need to waste these warp strands here. You can create a completely different one. You want to change up the pattern. Maybe you want to do every 2 lines is a different color. You can find instructions on, if you got the kit, the website that I gave you has one that has like a shape in it. You can find different inspirations or different tutorials for some loom weaving, or you can just alternate your colors, or you could do all one color, whatever you would like. I'm only going to do the one for the purpose of this video. So what you do is you're going to snip all of your warp strands. So I'm going to go ahead and cut mine over here. Okay, so I have my little rug coaster here. What we want to do is we want to be careful not to lose our weaving at the top here, and we're going to knot the tops 2 at a time, and you can see it'll kind of trap the yarn in there. So it's almost like, you know, again, like a little rug pattern with the little knotted ends there. So you're just going to go through and you're going to knot every 2 strands of yarn. She's hitting the camera because she sees my fingers moving on the screen. So she is trying to destroy the camera. So I have my little rug coaster here. And on the back side, we're going to take all of these loose ends and weave them in. So I'm just going to put it back onto my needle and just bring it through, kind of follow some of the ups and downs. And you want to follow this particular color. And then you trim it. So I'm going to do that to all of these. I'm just going to weave them in, up and down, and then I'll finish this up in another clip. I'm going to bring this to the library and I'll show you how to seal it. So I'm back here at the library and I have on the back side woven in my ends, and on the front side I have this cute little carpet coaster. And I have here, this is some Mod Podge that's been watered down a little bit. It's super thick. I don't need it to be thick. You could do the same with some school glue. Just water it down. I maybe made this a little too watery, but the goal here is just to give this a little seal, especially these knots, because we don't want them to become undone. So I'm gonna flip it over to the back again. I forgot to trim this little edge here, and so with my glue I'm just going to, that's a prime example, I'm going to go ahead and get these little edges. It seals the coaster itself, prevents fraying, and prevents your edges that you wove in from coming out accidentally from use and wear and stretch and time, right? I'm just going to dab a little bit and make sure, like I said, to get the back of these knots so that they don't come undone at any point. And make sure I'm definitely getting all of the edges from the perimeter. And so this will dry and stiffen up. And just make this a little more solid, a little more waterproof as well. And that's my little coaster. Okay, so this still needs to dry, but this is it. This is my finished little coaster. This is really just an introductory project to loom weaving, but you can take your loom that you have, you can recreate it in any size cardboard. If you really love it, you can go get yourself a real loom for weaving, or you can make it out of other materials. As you can see, you don't need an expensive setup to get started in crafting things that are just fun and pretty. Not my color choice, but it was a really fun project and it was nice. I put on some music, I did my weaving, and it's really relaxing, and you can just do so many things with it. You should have enough yarn to make a couple if you would like, different patterns and variations of your colors. You can add in other colors of yarn, but it's just really simple. And of course, if you decide that you love this as a craft, again, you can move on to a larger scale and make bigger pieces. And this just opens up a whole new hobby for you. You're welcome. All right, so that is it for me and my woven rug coaster. I'm gonna go put this underneath a glass of water on my desk and enjoy, and not have to worry about cleaning up any rings off of my desk. All right, everyone, I will see you next time. Bye.